Hello everybody, welcome home and welcome to the natural progression of the rebuilding of this channel, which would be the sequel of the game we just completed. This is Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, easily one of my most favorite titles on the NES, and I'm very excited to share this with you for multiple reasons. As I just mentioned, it's one of my favorites. Second, this is easily... according to the public, this is the black sheep of the entire Zelda franchise. And to a degree, I get it. It is very different. It's kind of you can almost argue it's an experiment. This came out not too long after titles like Castlevania, other side-scrollers that were very successful. And there are a number of things in this game that did not continue on throughout the Zelda franchise, and I wouldn't say I'm upset about that, but one thing I'd like to do with this series for sure is to try to debunk that this is one of the hardest titles on the NES. It's not easy. Very few NES games are, I would argue, but this has got a rap of just being, saying it's impossible is a stretch. It's not easy, but I'm going to show you ways that won't go against what this channel stands for, the pure gaming, but also, just making things a little bit easier on you. I mean, there's a couple of enemies in this game that, when taking them on traditionally, are extremely difficult and just sap you of your resources in the middle of a difficult dungeon. But there are ways around those things, and I don't recall anything in my playing through of this game that is contradictory to what I like to think this channel stands for, and if those come up, so be it. And I'll deal with those then. So, I also probably should have done this right off the bat, but I also want to say a huge, heartfelt thank you to everyone who's watching my stuff right now. The Zelda 1 series has been, saying it's successful compared to other big YouTube names is laughable, but compared to just about anything else on my channel I've done so far, it has been a roaring success, and I've never in my life been so excited to wake up every morning and check my numbers, check my views, check my likes, and as of the time of this recording, my Zelda 1 First Quest series has over 400 views, which I'm blown away. I'm blown away. I tell my girlfriend every day. My girlfriend asks me, "What are your views at? What's the series looking like these days?" And I'm always so excited to share that with her. So, and I'm just so I'm taken aback that that it has done so well. And probably a big part of that is that the videos are no longer an hour long, and they're a bit more bite-sized, a bit more easily digestible. So that's probably a factor, but people seem to enjoy it, and I think this channel is going to definitely go in a more what's the word I'm looking for? Nostalgic way. I have made a decent list of games I played a lot growing up that I'm looking forward to sharing with you, and they're all from the 16-bit era or earlier, including this one. So yeah, once again, thank you so much. Seeing your labor of love receive I don't want to say it's receiving credit. views is not exactly. I don't even know what I'm saying. The fact that people are watching it is just fills my heart with joy. So I do hope you enjoy this. I rewatched, as I mentioned in a few videos of the Zelda 1 series. I have made a couple videos of this game already, but the overall commentary and vibe of the videos didn't quite gel with where we're at right now. I'm personally not feeling 100% lately, but when I recorded those, I was not feeling very good, and I believe I opened the first video by saying things like, I know I haven't posted much lately, and I haven't been feeling great, blah 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 blah. While I admit that I'm not feeling 100% lately, I'm certainly feeling better than I was when I recorded those, and saying that I haven't been posting in a while is not true, which is a huge sign of that I'm feeling pretty darn good, that I'm able to post something every day, and that consistency, I think, is also a big part of why people are actually watching my stuff. So, final time, thank you so much for all your support and your viewing. It fills my heart with so much joy that people are watching this and enjoying it. So I do hope you enjoy this as well. Now, one thing that I did do in the first episode that I recorded for this months ago was, it's important, if you're interested in the story of The Legend of Zelda, which I most certainly am, there's a lot of stuff in this game that just flat out doesn't make sense unless you know the story behind it. And back in the Nintendo days, 8-bit days, all the story came from the instruction manual. So this will take a little bit of time, but I'll make a bit of a longer first episode. But I really want to share with you the story that comes in the instruction manual, as I did in the first time I recorded it. I listened to it at least 3 or 4 times, and I still really enjoy it, and I hope you do too. So this will give you a lot of backstory, and as to sets up what this game is about. Which, if you just kind of go in, it's a great game, but if you just kind of go in with your only knowledge being what happened in the first game, a lot of things don't make sense. So the story is important. So, a quick little sip of coffee here. Take a look at my cat sitting in my chair in my Canucks blanket. Oh, she's so cute. Okay, let's do this. So the story of the adventure of Link. At the end of a fierce fight, Link overthrew Ganon, took back the Triforce, and rescued Princess Zelda. However, is it all really finished? Many seasons have passed since then. Hyrule was on the road to ruin. The power that the vile heart of Ganon had left behind was causing chaos and disorder in Hyrule. What's more, even after the fall of Ganon, some of his underlings remained, waiting for Ganon's return. The key to Ganon's return was the blood of Link, the valiant lad who overthrew the King of Evil. Ganon would be revived by sacrificing Link and sprinkling his blood on the ashes of Ganon. That's a key point that I never connected as a kid, because as you saw in end of both quests in Zelda 1, when you defeat Ganon, the Triforce that he drops is actually sitting in a pile of his ashes, which, it was the first time you saw any remains of any enemy you defeated, other than items they would drop. But especially for 1986, 1987, I love that kind of continuity that goes from game to game. Anyway, so that's the only way that Ganon can come back, is if Link is defeated or sacrificed and sprinkling what's left of his blood onto the ashes of Ganon and he returns. Okay. Meanwhile, Link remained in the little kingdom of Hyrule and lent his hand to its restoration. But circumstances did not look very good. One day, a strange mark exactly like that of the crest of the kingdom appeared on the back of Link's hand as he approached his 16th birthday. The worried Link went to Impa, Princess Zelda's nursemaid, who was shocked and frightened when she saw the birthmark. When she regained her composure, she took Link to the North Castle. There was a door in the North Castle called, quote, the door that does not open. Only the descendants of the Impa family who served the king knew how to open the door. Impa took Link's left hand and pressed the back of it against the door. There was a sound of a lock falling open. The door slowly creaked open, and there on an altar in the middle of the room lay a beautiful woman. Here lies Princess Zelda, Impa began to speak calmly. Link, the time has come I must tell you the legend of Zelda handed down in Hyrule. It is said that long ago, when Hyrule was one country, a great ruler maintained the peace in Hyrule using the Triforce. However, the king too was a child of man, and he died. Then, the prince of the kingdom should have become king and inherited everything, but he could inherit the Triforce only in part. The prince searched everywhere for the missing parts, but could not find them. Then, a magician close to the king brought him some unexpected news. Before he died, the king had said something about the Triforce to only the younger sister of the prince, Princess Zelda. The prince immediately questioned the princess, but she wouldn't tell him anything. After the prince, the magician threatened to put the princess into an eternal sleep if she did not talk, but even still, she said nothing. In his anger, the magician tried to cast a magic spell on the princess. The surprised prince tried to stop him, but the magician fought off the prince and went on chanting the spell. Then, when the spell was finally cast, Princess Zelda fell on that spot and entered a sleep from which she might never wake. At the same time, the magician also fell down and breathed his last. In his grief, the prince placed the princess in this room. He hoped that someday she would come back to life. So that this tragedy would never be forgotten, he ordered that every female child born into the royal household shall be given the name Zelda. From the stand next to the altar where Princess Zelda lay in a deep sleep, Impa took 6 crystals and a scroll with the same crest and handed them to Link. For generations, my family has been handed down these things, which have been set aside for a time when a great king will come. They are written in an ancient script that no one can read now, but you who have the crest may be able to read it. It is said that the key to uniting the Triforce is hidden there. Now it is time for you to read it. Link glanced at the scroll half in doubt, but what do you know? Although he had never seen letters before, he found that he could read them as if they were talking to him. This was written on the scroll. You who will control the Triforce of the future. I shall hand down to you the secrets of the Triforce. There are 3 kinds of Triforce: power, wisdom, and courage. When these 3 are brought together, the Triforce will show its maximum power. Of the 3, I have left power and wisdom in the kingdom, but the Triforce of courage I have hidden for a reason. Not everybody can use the Triforce. It requires a strong character with no evil thoughts. But an inborn special quality is also necessary. Unfortunately, I have not found such a person during my lifetime. Therefore, I have decided to cast a spell on all of Hyrule. A crest will appear on a young man with that character who has been brought up correctly, has gained many kinds of experiences, and reached a certain age. But what will happen if someone else uses the Triforce before then? If it is misused, it will produce many evils. The Triforce of Courage is hidden in the Great Palace in the Valley of Death on the largest island in Hyrule. However, to enter there, you must first fight the Guardians and undo the Binding Force. When you have defeated the Guardians, which I made to prevent enemies from invading the 6 palaces in Hyrule, set a crystal in the forehead of the statue you find. When you have set crystals in all the statues in the 6 palaces, the Binding Force placed on the Valley of Death will be removed, and you'll be able to enter the Great Palace. There, you must fight the last Guardian, and you can obtain the Triforce only by defeating that Guardian. There's nothing to fear. You are the one to get the Triforce. You are the beacon of hope for Hyrule. Impa implored Link, who raised his head slowly after reading the scroll. The magic spell cast upon Princess Zelda will sure to be broken if the Triforce is used. Please, Link, unite the Triforce and save the princess, and bring peace back to Hyrule. Link nodded silently in approval and left the room after taking a long glance at the altar. Then, with a magical sword in his left hand and a magical shield in his right, he set off alone on his long travels. At that time, Ganon's underlings were calling up new allies from the underworld, and were beginning to work devilishly towards the revival of Ganon. So there we go. Again, a little bit longer, but that's okay. So that is the intro. So in the first game, we were about to find the pieces of the Triforce that needed to assemble the Triforce that we got, and then defeat Ganon to get his Triforce and rescue Princess Zelda. In this one, the Triforces are all in one piece, but the king has obviously hidden the third piece away to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. So in order to wake up Princess Zelda and reunite the kingdoms, we need to go after that Triforce, and it's being the only way to do that is break the seal on the final palace, which is you do by finishing the other 6. Okay, so this will be a bit of a longer episode, but we'll get into it here, and Probably finish the first, maybe finish the first palace in this one. That's not how you spell that at all. Oopsie poopsie. I did that. I'm not even doing that on purpose either. There we go. All right, so you'll see so many things are different in this compared to the first one. So we've got a magic bar, we've got a life bar, we've even got experience points in the top right. We have an attack stat on the top left. There is Princess Zelda. She is asleep. Our goal is to awaken her. So yeah, it's a full side scroller. There's also an overworld map, which we are currently on. If you stay on these brown roads, then you're safe and good to go. As soon as you leave the road, these fun little enemies come after you, and then you transport back to the side-scrolling perspective, and you now have to fight your way out. It's a relatively small little kind of area, but once you leave the area, you're back to the world again. We're heading down south, as the first thing we need to do is go down to this cave here. So it's dark in here. You can see on the kind of the ground there's these little doohickeys. Luckily, I have this game pretty well covered. Oop, well, making a liar out of myself. I know this game pretty well, so hopefully we won't do too shabbily. There's some Octoroks, for crying out loud, in these little divots here. You can kind of see their projectiles in the dark a little bit. We're after this thing, magic container, so now we have an extra magic block. We have no magic spells as of yet. We've also got 2 lives, no keys, and 6 remaining crystals. So those are the crystals we're going to put into the foreheads of those statues in those palaces to break the Great Barrier. You'll also notice that there are 2 different kinds of fights you can get into. There's the blobs, and then there's the creepier looking dudes. The creepier looking dudes are a more difficult encounter. This is basically Zelda's version of random encounters that you get in other RPGs. I don't like how little life I have already, but such is life. Hey, I did die in the first dungeon of Zelda 1, so you know, maybe it's a theme. gotta get the rust off. So here's our level up screen. So as you can see, we now have 52 of the required 50 to get to the next level. This level offers us life, which is basically armor. So the higher your life stat, the slower your life goes down when you get hit. The higher your magic stat, so very similarly, the fewer magic points it takes to cast spells, and the higher your attack, the fewer attacks it takes to defeat enemies. Attack is the most useful in this game, as you use it all the time, clearly. So we're actually going to save up for the next attack stat. I might not finish the first dungeon here, actually. We'll probably just go to the first town. Maybe get to the first dungeon. So, there are also towns in this game, as you can now see. So, every town has a name. Welcome to Hyrule. And there's villagers. 90% of them are not useful. And they also talk quite slowly, unless you have like a mod on it or something like that. Return the crystal to the palace in Parappa. Yes, we know that. Let's see what this guy's all about. If all else fails, use fire. Well, we don't have fire yet, and we're not going to have fire for quite some time, actually. So there are, at the bare minimum, there are 2 useful people in every town. One of them is a life giver, so you speak to the woman usually in the red dress, hanging out outside her house, and she'll welcome you into her home, and then she'll feed you or give you a potion or something, and she'll refill your health. With the exception of this town, there's also a little old lady, usually in a bright orange dress and long blonde hair, that will refill your magic. And then in every town, there is I believe a young lady, I don't think it's ever a male, that comes out of her house. That is the most important person in the town. They, like this lady here, will have you speak with her male relative before you leave town. With the exception of this town, every future town you have to accomplish some sort of task to speak to the wise man in excuse me, in each town. This is a freebie. All we have to do is just track her down. Excuse me. So this guy's going to give us our first spell. It is shield. So shield will just raise our defense beyond that of which we already have in our life stat. Sadly, when you cast it, it's only good for the screen that you're on. So you'll come to see the dungeons are consistent of just a bunch of large rooms. Find the heart in southern Parappa. Actually, that's actually useful, but I know where that is already. So, yeah. So the shield spell only lasts for, like, if I used it now, it would only lasts until I leave this screen. As before, when you have full health, you shoot a projectile sword. However, in the first Zelda, dang it, your sword projectile was as strong as your sword, so it ruled. In Zelda 2, it is considerably nerfed. I think it's only enemies that maximum give you 20. So the little number that comes up above enemies after you defeat them is the amount of experience points that they give you. I believe your projectile sword only affects enemies that give you 20 or less, and that's not even a sweeping. That isn't even true for all enemies that are 20 or less. There are just a very select few number of enemies that your projectile swords actually do damage to, which is a bit of a drag. So now we're in Parappa Desert, where the easy encounters are just fireballs. Now we're going to encounter basically world events, is what you could probably classify them as. These just kind of represent the trials and tribulations of traveling. So there will be spaces like this all over the world where you walk onto the space and you get an encounter. Basically, it's not a fight necessarily, but you need to, you're exploring, you're adventuring. It's not as simple as just walking. You got to be able to earn it, right? So we're now avoiding bubbles, which apparently will do damage to us. But this is the heart place that the lady in Raru so kindly suggested we go and seek. So this guy gives, I think he gives us 20 experience points, but the projectile swords won't actually do any damage to him. So we'll get our first heart. So now we're up to 5 magic and 5 heart. Yes, this is the perfect time to get to the palace and call it a first episode. So we'll call this the intro episode. Unfortunately, you have to go back through the test. So, well, there's your proof that the bubbles hurt you. These overworld events do most definitely oh god. Oh, mistimed that jump. Definitely get increase in difficulty, especially if you're not careful, like I am sometimes not. Yeah, well, deserve that for sure. Not paying attention, not taking it seriously. Alright, so the first palace is just north here, so we'll kind of start wrapping this up. Once more, and probably not for the last time, but thank you so much for all your support with the new Zelda series, or the first Zelda series, and I really hope you enjoy and look forward to the videos for this series, as I will most definitely be finishing this game as well. And also, while you're here, like, the view counts going through the roof compared to my other videos is such a huge treat, but I also would love to hear your feedback, good or bad. Let me know what you think about these games, about my commentary, about everything. Let me know, and I want to hear your comments, and I love to read them no matter what. So please let me know what you think, and as always, be kind, be strong, and be awesome. You're already so awesome with all your support, so thank you. You're definitely doing that for sure. And I will see you in video 2 for Zelda 2. Thank you.